Forget hot composting. This cold method creates amazing humus naturally. If you've ever tried hot composting, you know it can feel a bit like managing a fussy toddler. You have to keep turning it, checking moisture, balancing the greens and browns, and hoping the pile heats up just right. For many gardeners, it's a lot to juggle, especially when all you want is rich, dark humus for your garden beds. Here at SoilSage Chronicles, I've spent years experimenting with different composting styles. And honestly, I've fallen in love with a slower, simpler, and more forgiving technique, cold composting. It doesn't need fancy bins, it doesn't need daily attention, and best of all, it creates some of the richest humus I've ever used, without the sweat. Let's dig in. Why cold composting deserves your attention. Hot composting gets most of the spotlight because it promises fast results. Under the right conditions, you can have finished compost in just a few weeks. But here's the catch. Under the right conditions is easier said than done. Cold composting, on the other hand, is composting's quiet achiever. It relies on nature's own rhythms, letting microbes, fungi, worms, and thyme slowly break down organic material. You won't see clouds of steam or soaring thermometers. Instead, you get a steady, natural transformation happening below the surface. The result? A crumbly, earthy, nutrient-rich humus that smells like a healthy forest floor. And here's the beautiful part. It works even if you're busy, distracted, or a beginner. Once you set up the pile, nature takes over. Step 3. Let nature work its magic. Here's the best part. Once the pile is built, you really don't have to turn it constantly. In fact, you can leave it completely alone if you want. Cold composting relies on slow microbial action and the work of worms and insects to break everything down over time. The process usually takes 6 to 12 months, depending on your climate and materials. During this time, the pile will shrink, darken, and gradually transform into beautiful humus. I like to think of my cold compost piles as slow cookers in the garden. I build them once, check occasionally for moisture, it should feel like a wrung-out sponge, and then let nature take care of the rest. Here's something many gardeners don't realize. Cold composting often produces more biologically diverse humus than hot methods. Now, hot composting kills pathogens and weed seeds, which is useful, but it also wipes out many beneficial fungi and microbes. Cold composting, by contrast, happens at ambient temperatures, so more microbial communities survive and flourish. The resulting humus is teeming with life. When you spread it on your beds, you're not just feeding your plants. You're inoculating your soil with a vibrant ecosystem that improves structure, water retention, and long-term fertility. Troubleshooting. Common cold compost concerns. Some gardeners worry that cold compost piles will smell or attract pests. Here's how to keep things tidy and problem-free. Odors. A healthy cold compost pile should smell earthy, not rotten. If it smells bad, it's usually too wet or has too many kitchen scraps exposed. Add more browns and gently mix the top layer to restore balance. Pests. Covering kitchen scraps with a layer of leaves or cardboard keeps flies and critters away. A simple wire mesh over the pile can also discourage animals. Slow breakdown. Remember, cold composting is deliberately slow. But if things seem stalled, a light turning or a sprinkle of finished compost can give the microbes a boost. When and how to harvest the finished humus. Patience pays off here. After several months, dig into the bottom of the pile and look for dark, crumbly, sweet-smelling humus. It should resemble rich forest soil with very few recognizable scraps left. You can sift it through a mesh screen to separate any unfinished bits. Return the larger pieces to the pile to keep decomposing. They're like a sourdough starter for your compost, jump-starting the next batch. Apply the finished humus to your garden beds as a top dressing, mulch, or soil amendment. There's no need to till it in. Rain, worms, and time will integrate it beautifully into your soil. Cold composting. Perfect for every gardener. One of the reasons I'm such a fan of cold composting is its flexibility. Whether you're a busy gardener with limited time or a seasoned grower managing multiple beds, this method fits seamlessly into any routine. You can maintain multiple small piles in different corners of the garden, or one big heap that you feed gradually. There's no fixed schedule, no specialized tools, and no strict rules. And unlike hot composting, which demands a critical mass of material to heat up, cold composting works just as well with small amounts. Even a single household's kitchen scraps and yard waste can produce a steady stream of humus over time. A method rooted in nature. Cold composting isn't new. In fact, it's how forests have been creating soil for millennia. Leaves fall, branches decay, and life in the soil quietly gets to work. No one's out there turning the forest floor with a pitchfork. By embracing this method, we're simply working with nature's timeline, not against it. And the reward is garden gold humus that improves soil health in ways synthetic fertilizers never can. Final thoughts and call to action. If hot composting has ever felt overwhelming, give cold composting a try. It's slower, yes, but it's also simpler, steadier, and surprisingly powerful. Over time, you'll find your soil growing richer, your plants healthier, and your gardening chores lighter. Here at SoilSage Chronicles, I believe gardening should work with nature, not against it, and cold composting embodies that perfectly. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to SoilSage Chronicles on YouTube and share this article with a fellow gardener who might need a composting breakthrough. Together, we can build thriving soils, one humble pile at a time.